right, so we'll call the meeting to order and ask everyone rise for the blessing from Councillor Rolko.
As we gather, we recognize that we are on Treaty 3 lands which are steeped in rich Indigenous history and home to many First Nations and Métis people today. We continue to be thankful for the partnerships with our Indigenous people. We give thanks for the many blessings we enjoy in the city of Kenora. We seek wisdom in our minds, clearness in our thinking, truth in our speaking, and always love in our hearts, so that we may try always to unite the citizens of Kenora. Let these principles guide us in our decision-making.
Public information notices as required under Notice Bylaw 144-2007. The public is advised of Council's intention to adopt the following at today's meeting: the 2019 municipal operating budget, a new tariff of fees and charges bylaw to give effect to new rates in Schedule A, Administration and Finance, Clerk's Department, and Schedule D, Operations, Boat Docking and Mooring, to appoint an Integrity Commissioner for the City of Kenora, an allocation of $475,000 funded through City's contingency reserves for the development of a gravel driveway, water main extension, and rink relocation, amend the 2019 capital budget to withdraw funds from the solid waste reserves in the amount of $55,000 to offset the costs of the construction of the transfer station scale building expansion. At this time, I'd ask if any member of council has any declaration of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof pertaining to any items as follows: on today's agenda or from a previous meeting, or from a meeting at which a member was not in attendance.
Your Worship, I have several this morning. I, Kirsty Rolko, am declaring a direct or indirect pecuniary interest as it relates to the following agenda items. So first, agenda item number 11 regarding city tenders. This relates to resolution 29, 30, and 31 for bridge maintenance repair, Coker Bailey Bridge replacement, and the street line painting. This will also relate to items that were discussed previously at Committee of the Whole. The nature of my interest is indirect, relates to myself, and the nature of my interest arises out of my employment with the Shuchuk Law Firm. Second, I'm declaring an interest in agenda item number 9.4 regarding resolutions 16 and 33 on the loan agreement for the Arts Center. My pecuniary interest is indirect, relates to myself, and arises out of my employment at the Shuchuk Law Firm. And lastly, agenda item number 12 regarding the Grace Ann Cottage Club and the related zoning bylaw, resolutions 24 and 35. My pecuniary interest is indirect, relates to myself, and arises out of my employment at the Shuchuk Law Firm.
As we go through each of these, you may have to remind me. All right. Resolution number 1.
Your Worship, resolution number 1 moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McMillan, that the following minutes of the Council of the City of Kenora be adopted as circulated. Regular Council, February 19, 2019.
All in favor? Carried. All right. Deputations, we have with us today David Luby. And David, I believe this is David's package, so you all have his package before. And David, the podium is yours.
Great. First off, I'd like to welcome all the new appointed councillors and the old ones. I've stayed out of politics. A lot of you might know my brother Al, but I've been more in the construction area for about 35 years. I formerly had Salem Hotel, which we renovated and sold, and done many projects in Kenora with my brother Chris. And in 2009, 2010, I proposed a 11-lot subdivision. You do have the paperwork where I just showed it was approved at the time, and to a severance on the plan on M25 lot 11. And both applications were approved with stipulations, of course. I got held back. I got called to building a power dam and Kapuskasing, and that was a 6-year program, so I had to put things on the shelf until then. We sold the motel, and I had a lot over in Sunrise Place, and one of the designs you have there, I've built a duplex, just to give an idea of a model of a home that I was looking at with investors on putting on the 11 lot subdivision at the time. So that property was basically used as a feasibility study just to see if it would be profitable for me or not to move ahead with the subdivision and carrying on with what I had planned. And today it seems to be a good time. There's lots of hype, lots to talk about, and lots of money with the different infrastructures for affordable housing, low-income housing, seniors complexes. I do have investors that are interested in for developing just on the properties that the way they sit with zoning and everything, besides having to reapply for what's needed. So with that being said, I would just come to the town because with the feasibility study on building, it's nearly impossible with Kenora with the sewer and water infrastructure being put in. It isn't feasible in this area with the rock that we have. But I've known there's been joint ventures as Cameron Bay and that where it has been feasible for them and has been well developed. Also, that's where I'd like to leave it. Thank you for your time.
Okay, David, just, there won't be any interaction, but I guess could you just be clear on what your request is of council, because you can't really ask a lot of questions.
Yes,
so.
okay. Yeah, I'm looking for infrastructure money from the town for sewer and water to be put in as a venture with the property, a joint venture with the property.
Okay. All right, well, thank you very much for your deputation, and the appropriate parties will be in contact with you, all right? Okay. Thank you very much. Now, David, you're more than welcome to stay, or you can leave. All right. Okay. Resolution number 2.
Resolution number 2, your worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McMillan, that council hereby appoints Jerry O'Leary to the Northwestern Health Unit Board of Health as the joint appointment for Sioux Narrows, Nestor Falls, and Kenora.
All in favor? Carried. Resolution number 3.
Your worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Poirier, that council hereby accepts the 2018 December capital and unusual spending report.
All in favor? It's carried. Resolution number 4.
Resolution number 4, your worship, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Van Wellingham, that council hereby accepts the 2018 July to December contracts and expenditures approved report.
All in favor? It's carried. Resolution number 5.
Resolution number 5, your worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McMillan, that council hereby approves various fee increases for the clerk's department under Schedule A, administration and finance, effective immediately, and further that in accordance with notice bylaw number 144-2007, public notice is hereby given that council intends to give 3 readings to a new tariff of fees and charges by law at its March 19, 2019 meeting to give effect to these rates outlined in revised Schedule A, and further that bylaw number 3-2019 be hereby repealed.
All in favor? Carried. Resolution number 6.
Your worship, resolution number 6, moved by myself, excuse me, seconded by Councillor Ralco, that council hereby approves the City of Kenora's 2019 municipal operating budget as reviewed and amended, and further that council give 3 readings to a bylaw to approve the 2019 municipal operating budget, and further that council authorize city administration to proceed with the implementation of all budget-related decisions in accordance with those reflected within the amended budgets, and further, and in accordance with notice bylaw number 144-2007, public notice is hereby given that council intends to formally adopt the 2019 municipal operating budget bylaw at its March 19th council meeting.
All in favor? Carried. Today, council approves the 2019 operating budget. The 2019 capital budget was approved on December 18th, 2018. The budget includes a number of critical projects initiated by staff, council, and community input. As the 2019 draft budget was being prepared, it became very apparent that it would be one of the most challenging budgets in many years for both council and administration. The most frustrating part of this budget is the over $650,000 in increases are primarily increases that are beyond our control, as they are driven by external organizations. These are things such as our policing costs, social service costs, and the loss of provincial annualized funding. The senior leadership team met on several occasions to review departmental budgets closely, to search for areas where we could reduce costs to offset the large uncontrollable impacts of the 2019 budget. Any area where administration felt could be reduced was addressed, and it still left the draft budget to council in a significant tax increase position. Council closely reviewed options for further operating cost savings and made difficult decisions to avoid a significant tax increase. This unfortunately meant that service levels and staffing impacts to the organization were directed under very close consideration. They considered all other budget areas. However, these changes were necessary to reduce the deeper impact of the tax increase for 2019. Some of the more significant impacts the city faced in 2019 included loss of provincial funding of $124,000, increased policing costs of $406,000, increased requests for other mandated external organizations totaling $135,000, additional Arts Center operating costs of $115,000. Major capital projects planned for 2019 include the First Street development at $7.7 million, the Coker-Bailey Bridge at $1.5 million, and street lighting electrical distribution upgrade of $0.2 million. Other projects of interest in the 2019 budget include the Lake of the Woods Arts Center construction is expected to be completed in August of 2019. The Rotary Splash Park is expected to be completed in July of 2019. And with the funds secured, the Pickleball Club expects the court resurfacing to be completed in the summer of 2019. Overall, financial highlights of the approved 2019 budget include $48.1 million in combined operating, capital, non-capital special projects, unusual spend, and reserve appropriations, broken out as follows: $30.6 million in operating expenses, $1.8 million in reserve appropriations, $13.6 million in capital expenses, and $2.1 million in non-capital special projects or unusual spending. Combined, this represents $26.3 million in net tax levy requirement. Council directed service level reductions and user fee increases to reduce the budget impacts. Some direct impacts included the elimination of the fitness consultant position at the Kenora Recreation Center, the elimination of one bylaw enforcement officer position, the elimination of 2 positions at City Hall customer service area, the City Hall reception to be moved to an automated answering system, increase of user fees at the Recreation Center and City Hall, and Saturday parking to be enforced. This budget was a particularly difficult one for council. There were tough decisions that had to be made, and finding the balance between meeting the demands and expectations of the public for day-to-day services and keeping the strategic vision for moving our community forward is always a struggle, especially this budget year. While some service levels are being impacted, we believe that this budget, in conjunction with the strong financial management by City Council and the senior leadership team over recent years, will continue to maintain the city's financial strength and stability. Resolution number 7, please.
Your Worship, resolution number 7, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Van Willingham, that council hereby amends the salary administration policy HR-3-1 in the comprehensive policy manual, and further that 3 readings be given to
favor? Carried. Resolution number 8.
Resolution number 8, your worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McMillan. The council hereby appoints Lisa Wheatley as the City of Kenora's Integrity Commissioner, fulfilling all statutory requirements pursuant to sections 223.3 and 223.8 of the Municipal Act, and further that council gives 3 readings to a bylaw to adopt a new Integrity Commissioner Inquiry Protocol.
All in favor? Carried. Resolution number 9.
Your worship, moved by myself, seconded by, excuse me, Councillor Poirier. Whereas Zone 9 is defined by the Association of Municipalities of Ontario and the Rural Ontario Municipal Association comprises a large geographic area, and whereas it is difficult for one person to effectively represent all of the municipalities in Zone 9 given its size, now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the City of Kenora hereby requests that Zone 9 be divided into 2 different excuse me, geographical zones, one for Northwestern Ontario and one for Northeastern Ontario, and further that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to the Association of Municipalities of Ontario and the Rural Ontario Municipal Association with an express request that it be placed on the table for discussion at an upcoming meeting, and further that a copy be forwarded to all municipalities in Zone 9 for their support.
All in favor? Carried. Resolution number 10.
Resolution number 10, your worship, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Poirier. The council hereby appoints Councillor Kirsty Rocco and Adam Smith, Development Services Strategist, as a Kenora representatives to the local Youth Council of the Youth Committee of Reconciliation Kenora, and further that council hereby directs administration to proceed with advertising for additional community members interested in participating in the Youth Reconciliation in Kenora Phase 1 process, setting context.
All in favor? Yes. All in favor? Carried. Please.
Excuse me, the media release addressing this. Today, the city joins the Reconciliation Board of Kenora that works towards the implementation of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's calls to action at the local level. This is a monumental project which develops partnerships between Indigenous and non-Indigenous individuals in the Kenora area. This council is intended to be a joint venture between the sovereign nations surrounding Kenora, Métis Nation, and the City of Kenora. Councillor Kirsty Ralco and Adam Smith, Developmental Services Strategists, will join the board as Kenora representatives to the local Youth Council of the Youth Committee of Reconciliation. Further, as part of the partnership, the city will be advertising for 12 to 14 additional community members interested in participating in the Youth Reconciliation in Kenora Phase 1 process, setting context, with the intent that the number of non-Indigenous members would parallel the Indigenous members. Mayor Raynard is proud of this project, which aligns with our strategic plan, focusing on our people, including building and strengthening working relations with our Indigenous partners, together with a commitment to identify opportunities within the Truth and Reconciliation Commission recommendations that will further strengthen relationships with our Indigenous partners, are fundamental tenets of the city's strategic plan. It is an exciting time in the city, and reconciliation with our Indigenous partners, and especially our youth, will continue to be at the forefront of our progression as a community, states Mayor Raynard. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor McMillan. Resolution number 11.
Resolution 11, your worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Van Wallingham, that the Council of the City of Kenora hereby receives the 2018 Drinking Water System Summary Report for the period January 1st, 2018 to December 31st, 2018, as prepared by Beeman Podell, Water and Wastewater Division Lead.
All in favor? It's carried. Okay, resolution number 12.
Resolution number 12, your worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Poirier, that council hereby repeals bylaw number 38-2017, authorizing a load restriction on the 7th Avenue Bridge.
All in favor? It's carried. Resolution number 13.
Your worship, resolution number 13, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McMillan, that council hereby accepts the tender submitted by LMD Contracting 2008 Limited in the amount of $336,200 plus applicable taxes for the construction of the transfer station scale building expansion, and further that council hereby approves an additional allocation of $55,000 to be funded through the solid waste reserve to supplement the difference between the $340,000 set aside in the 2019 capital budget and the bid accepted above. And further, that in accordance with bylaw number 144-2007, public notice is hereby given that council intends to amend its 2019 capital budget at its March 19, 2019 meeting to withdraw funds from the solid waste reserves in the amount of $55,000 to offset the costs of these works. And further, that council gives 3 readings to a bylaw to amend the 2019 budget for this purpose.
Your Worship, I also have to declare a conflict on this item. That was resolution number 13. Sorry, I don't know what the agenda item number we're on. The pecuniary interest I have is indirect, it relates to myself, and arises out of my employment at Fisher Chuck Law Firm.
Thank you, Councillor Ralco. All in favor?
Yes, this would also relate to the discussion that was held at committee of the whole.
We're good. Okay. All in favor? It's carried. So, that. There we go. Okay. Resolution number 14.
Resolution number 14, Your Worship, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Poirier, that council hereby receives the recommendation from Stace Gander, Community Services Manager, regarding the detailed design phase of the Kenora Recreation Center ice twinning project, and further that council hereby directs administration to cease the needs assessment of the twinned ice surface at the Kenora Recreation Center for this term of council.
Councillor McMillan.
Your Worship, I'd like to introduce a request for an amendment. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Van Wallingham, that motion number 14 on today's agenda with respect to the twinning of the Kenora Recreation Center be hereby amended as follows. Amend the second paragraph of the resolution to read that given the current funding climate and the projected financial results of a twinning project, the recommendation is that the City of Kenora opt to not proceed with the application of NOHFC funding for detailed design funding at this time, and further that the city revisit this project within a 2-year period and a report be provided to council to determine if the environment has changed and that funding sources may be available at that time. Your Worship, this reflects my comments from Committee of the Whole.
Discussion? Councillor Van Wallingham.
This second ice surface project has turned into a massive undertaking here. Now includes the relocation of the ball fields, tennis courts, and now the boat launches. In the meantime, the different groups wanting more ice time are not allowed to request it because of the resolution 2 years ago. And I'll just go through it quickly to refresh everybody. It was July 18th, 2017. That council imposes a moratorium on any new ice hockey tournaments or similar type events until such time that a second ice surface is constructed at the Kenora Recreation Center. So a delay in this project means construction costs will only increase and some events could find other homes. But a delay will also give time to see if different funding sources will support this one day. Most of the information and stats have been gathered and would probably still be good in 2 years, but in 4 years they may have to be updated. So I would ask council to support the recommendation by Councillor McMillan, instead of a 4-year moratorium, to have it down just as 2 and look at the funding end.
Anyone else? All right, so, oh, I'm sorry.
Thanks, Your Worship. So, um, I'm not gonna support this, friendly amendment. This ball's been bounced around for years. I watched it before I was back on council, and, there was a lot of work put in by a lot of very conscientious individuals in the community. It's unfortunate that didn't result in a positive result. But my arguments are back to, we do not, I believe, have enough data. We can talk about funding and everything else, but until we have data that goes way out into the horizon, out to 2030, 2035, because we're talking about decades of financing and deficits and so on and so forth, until we get solid information that shows that there is going to be a need, not just today, but way out in the future while we continue to fund or finance this project, or possibly, I cannot support any resolution unless it has something that talks about that, because I will not support it in 2 years unless we have data that shows there's a need well into the future. Thank you very much.
Anyone else? All right, we'll call the question. So we're voting on the amended resolution, asking for deferral to 2 years. All in favor of the amended resolution? Opposed? Motion is defeated. So that brings us back to resolution number 14. And remind everybody that council hereby receives the recommendation from Stace Gander, Community Services Manager, regarding the detailed design phase of Kenora Recreation Ice Twinning Project. And further, that council hereby directs administration to seize the needs of assessment a twinned ice surface at the Kenora Recreation Center for the term of this council. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried.
Just a comment, Mayor Raynard.
Certainly.
Councillor Van Wallingham raises a good point, and he mentions a resolution about not having any more tournaments while we look until the twinning was completed. I think we're going to have to visit that resolution and possibly rescind it in the future.
What I would suggest is that now we have the staffing and the model in place, that's all part and parcel of their overall, looking at how the ice is going to be allocated on a go-forward basis. I don't think we should look at a matter. We should look at the whole global use of both facilities. So.
Agreed.
Thank you. Where's the amended?
Oh, I got it, sorry. Sorry, Dan.
No, that's okay.
And the other one's attached that didn't come forward, so.
Okay. Resolution number 15.
Resolution number 15, Your Worship, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Van Wallingham, that Council authorize a 5-year extension of lease agreement with Thunder Baytel, or T-Baytel, for the telecommunications site W2350B site, Lake of the Woods Mackenzie Road, and further, that Council give 3 readings to a bylaw to authorize the extension of lease agreement for 5 years commencing February 1st, 2019, and ending January 31st, 2024, with T-Baytel for the lease fees as outlined in the bylaw.
All in favor? Carried. Resolution number 16.
Resolution number 16, Your Worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McMillan. That council hereby approves the loan agreement between the Bryce Douglas and the Lake of the Woods Museum, being a museum owned and operated by the City of Kenora for a collection of art by Canadian artist Walter J. Phillips, and further that 3 readings be given to a bylaw for this purpose. Your Worship, I'd comment on this. I've been a fan of Walter J. Phillips' art for many, many years. I was fortunate with a couple of other councillors to attend the Douglas family camp in Lake of the Woods, and I've seen the collection. I think it's an amazing gift from lifelong residents, and this is something that Kenora should be quite proud of. These are major works by contemporaries of the 7. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Goss. All in favor? Carried. Resolution number 17.
Your worship, resolution number 17, moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Ralco. That council give 3 readings to a bylaw to authorize the increase to rental rates for our seasonal docking spaces and mooring ball rentals. And further, that in accordance with notice bylaw number 144-2007, public notice is hereby given that council intends to give 3 readings to a new tariff of fees and charges bylaw at its March 19, 2019 meeting to give effect to the new rates outlined in the revised Schedule D.
All in favor? Motion carried. Resolution number 18.
Take a deep breath for this one, it's long. Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Ralco, whereas public libraries provide safe, inclusive, and vibrant community spaces where everyone is welcome to learn, work, connect, and have fun, and whereas the Kenora Public Library actively partners with the community to deliver valued services and contribute to a culture of social good by sharing knowledge and resources, and whereas the Kenora Public Library continues to deliver services that support provincial initiatives such as lifelong learning and skill development, local economic development, health literacy, and provides equitable access to government websites and services. And whereas the Kenora Public Library continues to seek funding opportunities through grants, donor development, and sponsorships to increase services, complete capital projects, and expand programming outside of their core funding. And whereas the Kenora Public Library continues to manage public resources with the utmost care and are committed to the sustainability of their services. And whereas the Kenora Public Library requests that the City of Kenora urge the Province of Ontario to recognize the contribution of local libraries within their communities and to cease the 20-year budget freeze to local libraries in an acknowledgement to the services they offer to all residents. Therefore, be it resolved that the City Council supports the Kenora Public Library's request for the Government of Ontario to end the 20-year freeze on public library funding, an initiative spearheaded by the Ontario Library Association and the Federation of Ontario Public Libraries, and further, that the City of Kenora urges the Province of Ontario to reinstate adequate and appropriate funding for local libraries, increasing each year going forward in line with the Consumer Price Index, and further, that a copy of this resolution be sent to the Minister of Tourism, Culture and Sport, to the Ontario Minister of Municipal Affairs, to the local MPP, to the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, to the Ontario Library Association, and to the Federation of Ontario Public Libraries. Thank you.
All in favor? Carried. Resolution 19.
Resolution number 19, Your Worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McMillan, that Council adopts the 2018 fourth quarter report for the Recreation Services Department.
All in favor? Carried. Resolution number 20.
Oh, sorry. Not used to the short ones. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Ralco, that Council hereby accepts the 2019-22 multi-year accessibility plan in accordance with the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act 2005 bracket AODA end bracket.
All in favor? Carried. Resolution number 21.
Resolution number 21, Your Worship, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Poirier. The council hereby directs staff to apply under the Community Economic Development Initiative with WUPS among independent nation to foster partnership and pursue an economic development initiative.
All in favor? Carried. Resolution number 22.
Resolution number 22, Your Worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McMillan. The council hereby repeals bylaw number 140-2018, a bylaw passed on October 31st, 2018, to change the zoning of city property located in the area of Pine Portage Road and described as lots 25 through 37, and a portion of laneway on Plan M63 from highway commercial to to institutional to allow for the development of these uses permitted within the institutional zone.
All in favor? Carried. Resolution number 23.
Resolution number 23, Your Worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Smith, that Council of the City of Kenora hereby supports the Kenora District Service Board's request for funding in the form of a gravel driveway and water main extension to the property line of the proposed project location within the municipality. And further, that Council of the City of Kenora hereby supports the realignment of the Evergreen Community Center ice rink to allow for a full road allowance for access to property to the west of Brinkman Road and south of 9th Street North. And further, that conditional upon approval of zoning bylaw amendment, file D14-1903, and the commitment by the Kenora District Service Board to move forward with this construction, Council hereby approves an allocation of $475,000 to be funded through the city's contingency reserves for the development of a gravel driveway, water main extension, and rink relocation. And further, that in accordance with notice bylaw number 144-2007, public notice is hereby given that Council intends to amend its 2019 five-year capital plan at its March 19, 2019 regular meeting of Council for an allocation of $475,000 funded through contingency reserves for this development. And further, that Council gives 3 readings to a bylaw to amend the 2019 capital budget for this purpose.
Your Worship.
Yes.
I'm requesting that we defer this motion until further notice, pending some additional information.
Do we need a seconder for that, or? Okay, so it's Councillor McMillan. So the motion has been to defer for a future decision. All in favor? Carried. So, okay. Resolution number 24.
Your Worship, resolution number 24, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McMillan, that the Council of the Corporation of the City of Kenora approves application D14-19-02. Subject property is located at 543 Lakeview Drive, 49 Nash Drive, and the south side area of Nash Street. The area is known as the Anchor Inn site, to change the zoning of the subject property from highway commercial to site-specific form of tourism recreational to allow for development of uses permitted within the TR zone, including a resort. First item, Area A, to reduce the east side yard setback to allow a narrowing from the 4.5 meter to 1.6 meter, reduce the west side yard setback to 2.4 meters, reduce the front yard setback to 6 meters, reduce the rear yard to 4.5 meters, increase building height to enable a variable terrace design to 15 meters, and further Area C, to allow for a single-story clubhouse and administration office, to reduce the setback from water to 6 meters, to reduce the rear setback to 4.5 meters, and further to increase the lot coverage for the overall development to 44%.
Councillor
Introduce resolution number 24A. The motion number 24 on today's agenda with respect to planning application D14-19-02, area of 543 Lakeview Drive, be hereby amended as follows. Paragraph related to Area C for a single-story clubhouse and administration building replaced with the following. Area C to allow for a two-story clubhouse and administration office with 2 resort units not to exceed 7 meters in height, to reduce the setback from the water to 6 meters, to reduce the rear setback to 4.5 meters.
Is there a seconder?
And, pardon me, Councillor McMillan.
Is there any discussion on this? All right, so we'll call the question. So, all in favor of the amended resolution? Resolution's carried. Do I have to sign that one? I have to sign 24. All right. Moved by Councillor Goss, seconded by Councillor Poirier. The Council of the Corporation City of Kenora approves application D14-19-02, subject properties located at 543 Lakeview Drive, 49 Nash Drive, and the south side area of Nash Street. Areas known as the Anchor Inn site to change the zoning of the subject property from highway commercial to site-specific form of tourist recreational, to allow for development of uses permitted within the TR zone, including a resort. Area A, to reduce the east side yard setback to allow a narrowing from 4.5 meters to 1.6 meters. Reduce the west side yard setback to 2.4 meters. Reduce the front yard setback to 6 meters. Reduce the rear yard to 4.5 meters. Increase building height to enable a variable terrace design to 15 meters. And further, Area C, to allow for a 2-story clubhouse, an administration office with 2 resort units, not to exceed 7 meters in height, to reduce the setback from water to 6 meters, to reduce the rear setback to 4.5 meters, and further to increase the lot coverage for overall development to 44%. All in favor? Motion's carried. Resolution number 25.
Resolution number 25, Your Worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McMillan, that Council hereby receives the reports prepared by Charlotte Eady, Treasurer, as required under Section 284 of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended, setting out the annual statement of remuneration and expenditures for members of Council in accordance with Remuneration Bylaw number 2-2018.
All in favor? Carried. Resolution number 26.
Your Worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Ralco, that 3 readings be given to a bylaw to execute an agreement between the Corporation of the City of Kenora and FedNor for the provision of the Digital Creator Program, and further that the Mayor and Clerk be authorized to execute this agreement. And Your Worship, the Digital Creator Program is a partnership to facilitate opportunities for youth to become more aware and more in tune with the digital world that we live in. So it's a great partnership for the library.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Resolution number 27.
Resolution number 27, Your Worship, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor McMillan, that Council of the City of Kenora hereby accepts the City of Kenora Occupational Health and Safety Policy, the City of Kenora Workplace Harassment Policy, and the City of Kenora Workplace Violence Prevention Policy, and further, that the signatures of the Mayor and CAO are affixed to said policies along with the date of endorsement and are posted in all workplaces.
All in favor? Carried. Resolution number 28.
Resolution number 28, Your Worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Poirier. The Council of the City of Kenora hereby accepts the January 2019 Kenora and Water and Wastewater Systems Monthly Summary Report as prepared by City Administration.
All in favor? Carried. Resolution number 29.
Resolution number 29, Your Worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Smith, that the tender submitted by RJ Concrete in the amount of $824,771.38 plus HST for the bridge maintenance repairs for the Cameron Bay Bridge, Keewatin Channel Bridge, Matheson Street Bridge, and Winnipeg River East Branch Bridge be hereby accepted.
All in favor? Carried. Resolution number 30.
Your Worship, resolution number 30, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Van Wellingham, that the tender submitted by Sharp Group in the amount of $970,989.80 plus HST for the Coker Bailey Bridge replacement works be
All in favor? Motion's carried. Resolution number 31.
Your worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Poirier, that council hereby accepts the tender submission by Northwest Lines Limited in the amount of $170,000 plus HST with an hourly rate of $150 plus HST for extra work and a rate of $120 plus HST per unit for bicycle symbols for the 2019 Urban Street and Highway Line Marking Works.
All in favor? Carried. Resolution number 32.
Your worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Poirier, that council hereby accepts the tender submitted by New Systems Building and Property Services Limited in the amount of $78,300 plus HST for the servicing of public restrooms as outlined in the tender submission be hereby accepted.
All in favor? Carried. Resolution number 33.
Resolution number 33, your worship, moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Miller, that the following bylaw be now read a first and second time and approved in its present form and presented to third and final reading. Number 38-2019, loan agreement, Lakewood Woods Museum Art Center.
All in favor? Carried. Resolution number 34.
Resolution number 34, your worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Ralco, that the following bylaw be now read a first and second time and approved in its present form and presented for third and final reading.
Resolution number 34 will be deferred as part of the actual resolution.
You can sit down now.
Resolution number 35.
Resolution number 35, your worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Poirier, that the following bylaw be now read a first and second time and amended in its present form and presented for third and final reading. Number 41-2019, D14-19-02, zoning bylaw amendment, area of 543 Lakeview Drive.
All in favor? Carried. Resolution number 36.
Resolution number 36, your worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McMillan, that the following bylaws be now read a first and second time and approved in the present form and presented for third and final reading. Number 30-2019, confirmatory, number 31-2019, tariff of fees and charges, clerk's department fee increases in boat docking. 32-2019, 2019 operating budget approval. 33-2019, HR-1-1 policy amendment. 34-2019, Integrity Commissioner Inquiry Protocol. 35-2019, Load Restriction 7th Avenue Bridge repeal. 36-2019, Budget Amendment, Transfer Station Scale Building Expansion. 37-2019, T-Baytel Lakewood Woods West Agreement. 39-2019, Repeal Bylaw 140-2018. Number 42-2019, Fee and Charges Increase, Keeping of Animals. Number 43-2019, Kenora Agreement, Library Digital Creator Program.
All in favor? Carried. All right, we have no notices of motion. We have no proclamations, announcements. Let's go around the table. Start with Councillor Poirier today.
Thanks, Your Worship. Yeah, I just wanted to throw a big bouquet of support out to our first responders, fire, police, ambulance, for the occurrence that happened on Main Street on Sunday. I had the opportunity to speak to the emergency fire chief probably saved additional damage that would have occurred on Main Street. So hats off to everybody. That's why we have the fire department. And as much as we don't want to use it, it was nice to have it there on Sunday. So hats off and thanks to everybody.
Thank you. Councillor Rolko?
Nothing from me, Your Worship, other than to concur with Councillor Poirier's statements.
Thank you. Councillor McMillan?
Excuse me. I have a couple, and I think addressing the emergency this past weekend will probably be repetitive amongst us, which is a good thing. So I just want to reference my notes. I just want to take a moment to acknowledge the efforts of Kenora emergency service workers, fire, police, paramedics, healthcare, as they fought to contain the recent fire at the old Delmar Hotel. They are very much appreciated and a vital resource in our community. And it's important to recognize the heroic efforts of Mr. Andy Stevenson and Mr. Bob McCann in their rescue of one of the tenants. And as with any fire of this magnitude, it is a priority to not only fight the fire, but protect the surrounding buildings. And that was done. I am very saddened that a resident lost their life as a result of this fire. Emergency staff did everything in their power to prevent tragedy by getting the residents out of the building. And as a resident, I'm very proud of our community for coming together to address the needs of the residents with respect to shelter, clothing, and food. There are many that have silently stepped forward to assist, and I clearly include our city staff that worked hard in the background to address this. And I do apologize if I've missed anyone, and I sincerely extend condolences to the deceased family and friends and their social family. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor McMillan. Councillor Smith?
Yes, and I echo comments that were made following it, especially to those two gentlemen that without hesitation went into that building and rescued the fellow that was used a wheelchair and could possibly not have gotten out on his own. And condolences definitely to the deceased. A couple of things I'd like to mention is that I thought it was amazing that decision was made to bring that excavator in while they were fighting that fire. I was watching that live streaming it, and I said to Kirk, come and watch this, because I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. To bring that excavator in there and to be fighting that fire at the same time, that move was probably the single most move that saved the rest of the downtown block there. And I think that was just an amazing strategic move on the part. I don't know who made that decision, but it absolutely probably saved those adjoining buildings. So it was amazing. And the other thing is that the first time we've used that ladder truck that we purchased? And you know what? Another strategic purchase by this city is that paid for itself right there and saving all those other buildings and that. So again, I extend my thanks to Chief Todd Skeen and the firefighters. They did an amazing job under very difficult conditions. Yeah, again, thank you.
Councillor Goss?
Once again, Councillor Smith's been curbing my notes.
That's what she does best.
I did want to say that the pumper truck was a little bit of a controversial purchase at the time, but I don't think that, as I watched it, I don't think that it would have done anyway for anybody to get on top of that fire the way that that pumper truck did. So I look at some of the other vulnerable buildings up and down that street, and I think we're very, very lucky that that hasn't happened. We're very fortunate to have that particular unit in place. I don't know if people have looked with the building, the bank building itself. It looks like it is constructed of wood, and was a little bit of charring on the outside of that. That fire could very easily have gone into the bank and further down the block. So, pumper truck, yes.
Councillor Van Logan?
I concur with my colleagues about the fire, but I'd also like to mention the bad weather we've been having here the last 6 months. I don't know, it's because I was in Florida the year before or why, but I'd like to give a big bouquet out to the roads crew here. Between all the snow we've had and the melting and the freezing and snow again, they've been doing all they can with the funds and the equipment available, and I actually think they're doing a really good job.
Thank you. Councillor McMillan.
I was wondering if he was going to do it, so I stopped mine.
Sit down and relax and report a little on, because we have the bar set pretty high by Councillor Rocco and Councillor Ben Willingham with their first conference. But if I just want to step back for a minute on the acknowledgements on the fire, and I was remiss in not mentioning the media for their coverage. I think from the perspective of primarily keeping the community residents up to date and up to speed about travel and accessibility on the street, and just the photographs alone is, I appreciate the efforts of the media in keeping us up to speed. Okay, good roads. I enjoyed the good, and this report is pulled together by Councillor Goss and myself, and he's given me permission to read it. Is that okay, Mort?
Can't stop you.
It was the Good Roads Conference, 125 years past, present, and future. Felt it was worthwhile to have city presence there. In saying that, and because the House was sitting, there was not a high number of ministers in attendance. We did have the opportunity to meet with 2 ministers to present our issues, including options for resolution. The timing of the meetings was good because it allowed us the opportunity to participate in more of the workshops. The open plenary with guest speaker Tom Nichols was very interesting, and he did challenge our thought process with respect to the term experts, and whether they be in politics, social issues, science, or other disciplines. As I understood it, his theme was that experts do matter and that they should be called upon when required and their input listened to. We do see some of this today where there are world leaders who view themselves as on par with well-known experts, and we kind of know where that's getting us. So from a leadership and strategies point of view, it makes sense. Following the morning plenary session, there were a number of workshops featuring a variety of topics. We attended sessions entitled Adapting Winter Maintenance to New Environment, New Expectations, and this addressed the issue of salt as one method of road maintenance and the impact on the environment, primarily groundwater. And the overview at that session was presented was a study that had been done over a number of years by a professor from the University of Waterloo. The main part of the afternoon was committed to ministers' meetings with Minister Yakubuski and Natural Resources and Minister Urak, Transportation. And prior to the meetings, the Honourable Monty McNaughton addressed the delegates, and at the end of the afternoon session, the leader of the Green Party, Mike Schreiner, addressed the delegates. Tuesday morning presentations included an address to the delegates from John Fraser, the interim leader of the Provincial Liberal Party, and there was an interesting session followed addressing the value of documenting weather forecasts to address minimum maintenance procedures by a tool called the Weather Tracker, which is automated. And this tool is available to municipalities and continues to enhance its value and reliability. Following that, we heard from Andrea Horvath, the leader of the NDP, and it's always amazing when you listen to some of the political leaders speak. She never referenced a note, and it was consistent and unrepetitive. And like many provincial leaders, they're very articulate and very good speakers. There was a session called, I attended this session, Diversity, Inclusion, and Equity, which a dialogue for OGRA's next 25 years. This workshop focused on OGRA Good Roads becoming more inclusive and adopting a gender equity lens. The panel was very good, but unfortunately, there was a very poor turnout, and I believe probably only about a dozen participants attended, so I'm very hopeful that this type of workshop will form a basic part of all future conferences, whether they be large or small. As can be expected, there were a number of sessions addressing municipal asset management plan, and many of them are quite interesting. Some of the panels tried to address some of the confusion surrounding the terminology used. For example, levels of service, performance indicators, service standards, and how it's in analysis and studies how important it is to distinguish between qualitative and quantitative outcomes of level of service. And when looking at it from a strategic lens, levels of service should be addressed in qualitative measures to relate how well yet facilities or service function from a user's perspective. And based on listening to all the municipal asset management plans, I think our municipality is doing very well in our planning process and getting our ducks in order. The plenary sessions on Wednesday morning were quite interesting and challenging. The initial one on joint and several liability is a topic that often comes to the forefront. The panel consisted of legal professionals representing different firms as well as Cowan Insurance. And the debate between the panelists at time was energetic, but it was good. The outcome is that with the multitude of implications for municipalities, insurers, and the legal system, there continues to be a strong push for the government to fast-track the review of joint and several liability. The concluding session, entitled "The Final Word," allowed the opportunity for the delegates to ask questions in the areas of planning, administration, law, construction, drainage, public works, etc. And the panel was comprised of municipal managers ranging from clerk, treasurer, infrastructure services, drainage experts, and it was moderated by Fred Dean, somebody that we used to work with in our municipality, who basically bid his farewell as he moves into retirement. And just a summary comment from my perspective, although it was a very well-run and structured conference and the amenities were good, I felt it was somewhat subdued, which does speak to the need for supporting the request that OGRA and Roma have a joint conference in 2020, not only for the opportunity of more ministers and staff to be present, but it'll also be a significant cost saving for smaller municipalities and those like within our district that are required to travel at a high cost. So I thank my colleagues for supporting our attendance, and Mort, please feel free to add what I missed.
Right. One thing that I found very interesting was the ability to attend some of the trade show. It was trade show was set up so that the coffee breaks and any other breaks were in the plenary sessions took place in the trade show. So there was a lot more attendance in the trade show area. We got to speak with a lot of representatives for different industries, including Atlantic Industries, who were very excited that they're going to be opening their new plant in Kenora sometime in the next month, and that'll be adding to their other 7 manufacturing plants. There were two sessions that I found very educational. Mayor Raynard and I went to one on the 21st century non-paved roads. This kind of, because we have so much gravel road, this was a very educational session. Particularly seemed, what struck me as particularly interesting was that the best speaker on this represented the city of Toronto. I didn't realize they had as much gravel road as they do. So that was very good. The biggest one for me though, and one that I'd been looking forward to all the time, was titled "Beyond Metrolinks, Creating Localized Transit in Smaller Communities." 3 communities were represented, and their different solutions were presented. The one that struck me the most was Innisfil, Ontario, which has struck a new and very innovative deal with Uber to provide transportation throughout their community. And I understand that one of our staff has now since then made contact with Innisfil and is proceeding to at least analyze the situation.
Thank you, Councillor Goss. I think both of you have pretty well hit everything. I think the key meeting we had was with Minister Yakubuski, Minister of Natural Resources and Forestry, and he's a very engaging individual, and he was very, our issue with us, we want to purchase the remediated land, the former air base in Lakeside at the ministry site, and we explained to him why, the importance to our community by being able to development of future housing in many different aspects there. It's a large piece of property, the location and everything, and he was very supportive of it, and he definitely will do everything he can to help us out in seeing that come to fruition for us. So that's definitely a project we need to continue to push and to let let's get it done, because what we've seen in the last 2 months is the number of interested parties, whether it's developers, whether it's our partners, that are interested in bringing so much different levels of housing in the community. And this is a prime site that would benefit all of those, so that was good. Rory, I would, the only thing that I would say that I wouldn't agree with you is the joint and several liability. I would say that was rather boisterous and confrontational at times, because they had lawyers from the insurance agency industry, a lawyer that staunchly defends municipalities and actions, and a lawyer who, that's all he does is sue municipalities. So it was very informative. Again, I would echo that I think it's the best for everybody that it becomes a joint conference in the future between Rome and Good Roads. I only have 2 announcements. There's the PAC meeting at the Operations Center at 6 p.m. And tomorrow night, the community conversation on the bridge art pieces is at 7 p.m. at the museum. So, saying all that, we'll call for resolution number 37, please.
Resolution number 37, Your Worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McMillan, that pursuant to Section 239 of the Municipal Act, as amended, authorization is hereby given for council to move into a closed session at 1:07 p.m. to discuss items pertaining to the following: education and training members of council, 3 matters.
All in favor? Carried. Resolution number 38.
Okay, this is number 2, actually. Moved by myself, second by Councillor McMillan, that this closed meeting now be declared closed at,
That's the wrong one.
4:25, 20.
Oh, number 38 was